guys. I'm Sanjay Dayal, and I'm founder CTO of a company in Sunnyvale called Agrologics. We have been there for about 3 years, and we are still very small. But what we do is we provide ERP for food enterprises.
My name is Jorge Villalobos. I'm the CEO and co-founder of 3DMX Inc. I moved in Silicon Valley back in 2005, and we started the company as a small 3D animation studio and a studio for video games. And we were doing a lot of projects for the big pharma, especially in the Silicon Valley. Recently, we redesigned the company, and we founded a university very focused in 3 areas: in IT, computer graphics, and high-end manufacturing.
I'm Guillermo Gonzalez. I'm the executive director of Mexico IT. Mexico IT is a public-private partnership between the Mexican government and the Mexican information technology industry. We basically work in raising awareness of Mexico as a sourcing and investment destination. We do that through the advocacy of clients of Mexican companies, trying to showcase and highlight what are the capabilities of Mexico. Bringing to audiences like this one success stories of Mexican companies that are doing cutting-edge stuff and can speak on behalf of the benefits of the neighbor to the south, becoming a partner for North American entities most likely.
I work for a company called XTV Networks, whose vision it is to bring the experience of broadcast TV to the internet. In other words, what we do is we take a company's video presence and put it into the cloud and have that delivered globally.
What is you guys' take on how companies like us can start better integrating our offering into the U.S. market, into companies like the ones you're founding here in the U.S. You have your startups, you have, and some of you might have even worked before at some big companies, small companies. Now you have your own. And how do we, the small or medium or even large companies from Mexico or South America, can help you guys succeed and make business in the process, right? And not only how can we connect with you, what is it gonna make us being able to get this business that help you at the same time?
So that's a really great question. What kills a lot of small to medium companies is the difficulty of creating the front end of the sales funnel and then managing that funnel so that your cost of sales continually goes down and you become profitable. It's a really hard market to break into. So let's just go down the line. And in your experience, what's your advice if you were in that situation selling into this gigantic market?
Yeah, I mean, I would say get them young and grow with them. We are a small company, and we are, in a place where a lot of innovation, a lot of small companies are already there. We are in a place called Plug and Play in Sunnyvale. And for example, that can be one space where you can present yourself to a lot of people, a lot of companies which are not just looking for cost saving, but which are really looking for partners, because Silicon Valley today is a very hard place to hire.
I agree. To me, at the beginning, the most critical part was to build my network. Because you came to this country, you need to put together that networking, and sometimes takes a lot of years. But what I found out is like people likes to help here. So it's you have to talk to a lot of people, let them know what you're doing. And taking the case of Plug and Play, that's a very good place. That place started in 2005. It was a small community, but now they have people from everywhere just there. They can offer you virtual offices. You don't have to be there, and they have four events every single year, every quarter. And those events are spectacular. You have basically all the ecosystem there. You have VPs, you have investors, you have some companies making the pitchings. You can see also, or at least feel the new trendings of the technology. So sometimes in Mexico, you feel alone, no? And you have a good technology, you know, you think that is the best technology, but when you realize that 25 more guys are doing that technology here, I mean, I don't know why Mexicans don't, I am talking about Mexicans because I'm from Mexico, no? I don't see the reason why don't we, do something together, you know, to help each other. But the most important thing for me was networking, you know,
One of the topics discussed earlier today was the possible migration of Silicon Valley, and I think Silicon Valley is both a geographical entity or region, but I think it's also a concept, and I mean, Silicon Valley is based in California, but the idea of having similar ecosystems, there might not be a mature or as a mature ecosystem as this one right here, but the opportunities to build a bridge between Mexico and specific cities like Salt Lake City, Utah, like Boston, Austin, Texas, that's what we're striving for. The idea to, as we say in Mexico, to put the companies where the bread is or the game is, and have them better understand the necessities of those regions and stakeholders in those regions in order for them to try and interact with.
It's a very difficult economy to hire people. We've got Google, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Apple, so on and so forth. So smaller companies can't afford to compete with that. So what we need is an edge. And so we ourselves have partnered with iTexaco, who's in the room here. And what they've done is they're just not providing services. They've embedded, they're integrating themselves into it. So they're providing just more than just a service, but a value where instead of giving them the work, they're giving us their opinion, and we value that opinion.
when I was raising capital, I wasn't just looking for the capital. Also, I was looking for the smart money. So right now we have around 30 shareholders. Half of them are Latinos, half of them are here from Silicon Valley, half guys from Poland. But they're just not supporting us with money. I guess the most critical part for me was the smart money, you know, those connections that they have.
One thing that happens a lot that you should never, ever, ever do is show up when you get into the office and say, tell me what keeps you up at night. What's your biggest problem? That would just be the end of the meeting. We'd have a code word with my guys that like banana or guayaba. And if I use that in a sentence, it means don't ask any questions. We're getting rid of this guy right away. The second thing sounds kind of obvious is even if you have a generalist company, you've got to be really, really good at one or two things, and you lead with those one or two things. Look, you want to do this with me because I'm really good at it. The third thing that companies don't do very often, which is a strength, is, look, I am small compared to, can't pick on TCS because they're in the room, let's say, Infosys, right? I'm small compared to Infosys. You are nobody to Infosys. You want to talk to the CEO of Infosys, you will never get him on the phone. You will be a hugely important customer of us. You want to talk to our CEO? We will have our CEO here. What's the hierarchy of what influences people to spend with you, to buy something in retail, right? They did them at Amex, we did them at FedEx, every university's done one, and it's always the same answer. It's not brand, it's not product. What is always the top of the list, the biggest influencer in purchasing decisions across all sectors? Recommendation of a friend.
Our problem statement right now is we're growing, which is a good problem to have. And we're looking at, do we build our captive, you know, from an IT and BPO perspective, or do we go down the vendor route, or do we do both, right, in some shape or form? And so we're really at the beginning stages of gathering all that information, but I'd like to know if anybody on the panel has been in that type of situation, and if you have any insight, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll start. I've been in that situation a bunch of times. I moved 1,000 technology people out of the States into Latin America 20 years ago, and headquarters just went, "You're doing what?" I mean, I'd have questions like, "Do they have telephones? And, you know, electricity?" And It was viewed very, very negatively until the results came in, and then it was fantastic. And back then, we did it as a captive, but I would never do a captive again because all of the time and headache and overhead and all of the mechanics that have really got nothing to do with the output, you have to do them yourself. So you get an interesting arbitrage and an interesting set of people with better skills and maybe more modernized skills, but the headache of it is just a nightmare. And your ability then to pivot away from that and say, okay, now we want to do some ERP stuff, or we've got some old COBOL stuff we need working on, or we're going to do some machine learning stuff or big data. You've got that whole thing that's yours, and that whole cost structure and the legal structures are, around that. And the other really big reason, and we talked about this earlier today, is that innovation going forward really matters, right? If you're not innovating and if you're not agile, you are going to get creamed at some point out in the marketplace. So you want not just a partner to do this, you want somebody who's also got other customers. Anything to add
Well,
on
one
that?
thing I would add is, the view from when you are a large company is kind of very different, and when you are a small company, there are things which you cannot do. So I've seen it from both ends. I've helped set up, offshore center owned by the company, and as you said, it is a daunting task. It is just navigating the market, the culture, the people. It just you have to have senior people full time over there to really execute that.
But is it your view, panel and Toby, that those at high levels of government can treat software in the respect Carlos just described of being the 21st century job opportunity versus saying, hey, great, we can, nothing against the car manufacturers, but the nice thing about those manufacturing jobs is, hey, it's suddenly 4,000 new jobs like that. So and you happen to hang out with the former president a bit, so he seems to be fairly enlightened on this, but
Yep.
What's the general consensus of his, that community of leaders and those minister types? Are they truly grasping how important this can be?
There's varying levels. There's a pretty good groundswell in Mexico that get this, right? That we're at the beginning of a tsunami, and it's not just that every industry sector is becoming more data intensive, and the footprint of data is becoming bigger, and big data is actually becoming really, really big. It is that manufacturing will change, and then what happens is manufacturing experts go, you haven't spent enough time in a factory. The factory's not going to change, right? Even automated factories, it's so hard to touch those systems. They move at such high speeds that nobody wants to play with them, they'll never change. What the manufacturing people don't get is, that factory will not change. Somebody else will build a new modern factory with, if you look at China, one of the biggest things happening in factories is robots, right? And China has pretty cheap labor, going huge on robots and sensors and how they manage that. It will kill those factories. In the 1920s, there was a new process for steel, to make steel was invented, called the Frash process. And British Steel already had all of these big factories, and they were world-dominating power mainly because of their steel industry that funded a giant navy. And they said, look, we can't change our factories because we've already put all this money into them. And then a little country called Germany and another country called the US were just building their steel plants. So guess what? They used the new process. You know what happened to British Steel?
Disappeared.
Gone, right? Dead. So I think that's exactly the model. So look, I encourage you, as we said at the start, to grab these guys in the hallway. They're doing very, very cool stuff. They've got awesome experience, and they're right on the edge of a tsunami in each of their areas. And I'd just like to thank them for their participation.
Thank you.